Hi, everybody. Welcome to Classics You Slept Through. We're the book podcast where we read classic books to you and then we discuss them. I'm your host, Kyle Davis, along with a girl who definitely is going to have a picture of her husband in her room after he dies. My sister, Meredith Davis.
Hey, I don't think that's a bad thing, but it's going to be a velvet portrait, not just a picture.
Oh, that's
Elvis
very nice.
style.
Yeah, I had a velvet portrait once that I bought of a dog. I wished it was an Elvis, but I bought it legitimately one of those back of the truck in a parking lot things.
There should be a velvet portrait of wolves waiting for you at Mom's from Aunt Mary Beth.
Ooh.
Did you not keep it?
I don't know. I will have to look for it. A velvet portrait of wolves is definitely something that I would put up in my house.
Well, when Aunt Mary Beth was passing away, she wanted to know who wanted her art in which pieces, and I happened to be there, and I said, Kyle definitely wants
I
the
definitely
velvet
wanted
wolf
the wolf
one. She said, okay,
Yes.
he can have it. So we brought it home
See?
for you.
See, folks, that's why you know she's my sister. She knew I would want the velvet wolf picture. That's tight. I'll have to look for that.
All right.
Oh, anyway, so if you like what we're doing here on Classics You Slept Through, then why don't you jump over to iTunes or Apple Podcasts, as they're now known, I guess. Give us a rating and review. Tell us what you like what we're doing. That'll help other people find the show.
And if you don't like it, you could just keep it to yourself.
Why are you listening? There's so many better ways you can spend your time if you don't actually like this podcast. That would be fun, though. I can't wait till we get our first hate listen. That'll be cool. If you are hate listening, please let us know. I would definitely love to hear that.
Yeah, in our email, so that we can just deal with it privately and drink alone about it.
And send us email. I want to read some emails on the show. Come on, give us some emails, some tweets, something, people.
Kyle's full of advice. If you need advice about something, anything, full of advice.
We should definitely do an advice corner. That'll spice up the old book podcast.
We could do
stay on brand.
We could do advice in the persona of the character. So what advice would Isabella give, or Catherine, or James, or John?
Oh, I want to know what advice Poirot give. Poirot give good advice. Sacre dame, he give good advice, that Poirot.
Call back to the first book, because if you didn't listen to the first book, you have no idea what he's talking about right now.
No idea. Anyway, so go back. It's in your feed. Go back and listen to the first book that we did. All right, well, today, speaking of books, we are on our fourth book, and we're coming close to the end.
So close, yeah.
Tomorrow in your feed, you're going to find the final chapters of Northanger Abbey. But today, we are talking about chapters 21 to 26 of Northanger Abbey. And I got to say, this section, probably the most fun section of the book.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
worth all the build-up and the pump room stuff.
Yeah. Completely unrelated to the build-up, but it definitely, a little bit of a tonal shift, I think, in these chapters.
And that's because originally this book was just called Catherine. And since it was published after she died, the publishers decided to call it Northanger Abbey. So
originally called Susan.
Well.
Which is even kind of more fun, but then she changed her lead character's name to Catherine.
Yeah.
I don't know if I really should call her a heroine. We'll get into that a little bit, but
Jane Austen calls her a heroine.
She does,
perhaps
but
slightly sarcastically.
That's my thought. But we'll talk about it as we go.
Some editions have it published in 2 volumes, so we'd be in volume 2 in some editions.
Oh, really?
Which I guess helps indicate
the
major shift. Yeah. Anyway,
the Bath weeks and then the actual Northanger Abbey section. Anyway, all right. So we got chapter 21, and as we left off in 20, they were approaching Northanger Abbey, and Henry Tilney, being the great guy that he is, he was kind of teasing Catherine about what she was going to find at the Abbey, and then it was shockingly normal. So now Catherine gets up to her actual rooms that she's going to be staying in at the Abbey, and she finds that, much like the buildings of the Abbey, they're pretty normal. But there's a big chest in the corner of the room.
Oh, and it looks like it has been put there to be out of the way.
Ooh, and it's old. It's got busted handles on it. And it's got a strange cipher, which I love. This is a fun part of reading old books. Had to look it up. A cipher, used in this context, is like a monogram. So it's the
not
initials.
A T, which would
but it's not a T.
Right.
So it couldn't, and Catherine, she attributes some strange circumstances to this. How could this trunk with bad initials have come into the Tilney family?
And why are they hiding it pushed off into the corner of the room?
Very odd circumstances, as we're currently moving my parents and just shoving stuff onto the driveway for people to take for free. Gee, I wonder how the Tilneys could have got this random trunk. I don't know.
Speaking of trunks, I heard your son locked himself inside one of Mom's trunks.
He did, yes. He got inside it, and then his brother locked him in, and I was unable to open the lock for some reason, much like our heroine Catherine. So I'm feeling some Catherine vibes from this in my own life.
Catherine wishes she would have opened it to find the bones of a small child. Something more.
I'm very glad that I didn't. No, I'm very glad that I didn't.
No, that would be terrible.
So Catherine sees this trunk, this chest. She tries to open the lid. She's starting to open it, and then the maid walks in, and she's got to slam it shut. She gets interrupted. So maid comes in, leaves. She wants to open it again. And this is, the tension is building. You can feel it in the air. She's about to open it, and she looks inside, and it's a duvet cover. Just folded up.
Or a counterpane, as it's called.
A counterpane, as it's called.
Your comforter. Yeah.
It's a comforter. It's,
womp, womp.
It's what you stick in old trunks,
What a disappointment.
But to build the tension, she is caught in the act by Eleanor, and she's totally embarrassed that she's snooping in this trunk, which, I've never been a guest in someone's home in the 1800s, but I'm assuming that if you put someone in a room and there's a piece of furniture in there, don't you have a reasonable expectation of them to look in it? If you didn't want them to, would you not have put them in a different room?
Right. I would totally snoop.
I don't know.
If I've ever
that's what
been
you're
at your
supposed
house,
to do.
I've probably snooped. Everyone snoops in medicine cabinets. That's a thing, right?
I think so.
It's like a cliched thing. You snoop in a medicine cabinet. But if I'm staying in a room, at least I built
the dirty laundry in the hamper. Or wait, is that just me?
No, that's
okay.
That's beyond snooping.
That's beyond snooping.
But if I'm
that's almost what Catherine's doing.
If I'm set up in a room, or my house, so the room I'm recording in right now is where Mom and Dad are going to stay, and I've got an awesome book nook in the window with a bench, and the bench has a lid, and I would assume if someone was cold, they'd be I'm going to look in here. Perhaps there's a counterpane, which I could use to ward my body because Meredith keeps the house too cold or something. I wouldn't be.
So you don't have anything incriminating in there? There's nothing.
It's actually computer monitors right now.
Oh.
From my previous job.
Very exciting.
Yeah. Trying to keep them safe because I hope to have that job back soon.
Oh.
We'll see.
Cross your fingers. Inshallah. Yeah. All right. So Eleanor comes in. Kat's a little embarrassed, but she can't really look in it too much. But they come on, we got to get to dinner. She can sense that. Eleanor doesn't outright say we got to get down to dinner, but she can tell. Eleanor's a little antsy. And they get down to dinner, and the general, Dad, he's standing there with his watch in his hand, checking the minutes for them to get down there. So probably smart that they got down there. Even though he very clearly is Eleanor, why are you hurrying your friend so much? This is
so unkind to hurry her.
So our dinner conversation starts, and now we start seeing the general's motivations here, or perhaps one of them. Mm. So everything that he discusses at dinner, or every observation that Catherine's making, he's immediately comparing it to the Allens. Oh, I'm sure. Oh, this dining room is not so great as what you have at the Allens, perhaps. And, oh, no, your dining room is much more lovely. And he's smugly. Oh, good, yes, my dining room is bigger than the Allens.
At this point, General Tilney has got to be just as bad as Catherine at reading cues, because unless he thinks Catherine the most humble creature on the planet, which perhaps is what he thinks, can he not tell that she's in awe of his dining room and all? And he's like, no, we don't have this. Like somebody who's totally ignorant of these luxuries. That is not catching on to him. Mr. Allen doesn't have anything.
Well, so, I was thinking about this. He's had interactions with Mr. Allen. They've they've been in the rooms together. They've been, in Bath for a couple of weeks. Like, surely, well, I say surely, like, could he get a sense of Alan's wealth? I don't know. I think back, if you ever watch British comedies, a real famous one that was over here in America, we get, I guess, the big ones. But do you remember Keeping Up Appearances?
No,
the Buckets. So it's like a working class husband and wife in their, I don't know, 50s or 60s or something. But she is obsessed with, hence the title of the show, keeping up appearances and showing that, she has more money than she really does. And so much of the comedy of the show is driven around, her mishaps in trying to appear
wealthy,
of a higher station, wealthy. So, I'm wondering, like, was that so prevalent back then and because you only saw people in very structured social settings, maybe you actually didn't know how wealthy someone was. If you've only, unless you've interacted with, you're getting information from second and third hand sources. So I guess the general would have had to interact with someone who did business with Mr. Allen or something to get a true sense of his wealth.
And perhaps you keep up your appearances as long as you can until you marry your daughter off to somebody rich.
Right.
And then,
because the whole crux of everything in Bath, the Thorpes think the Morelands are wealthy when they're not. And then the general now thinks the Allens are wealthy. And Catherine just has no idea whether Isabella has money or not. And, shocking that 400 pounds doesn't do it for her, so I guess you just don't know.
It's much easier to date it. Is it? No. I want to take that back. I was going to say it's much easier today to tell if somebody is quote unquote wealthy or not. And when I used to work at a pretty nice restaurant where some pretty affluent people would come in, there was like even a hierarchy of the people I would consider wealthy or rich and people who had like above and beyond. Like they were ridiculously wealthy, looked the most like quote unquote regular people. And so I decided, well, they've got nothing to prove. They're so wealthy.
They're just slumming it because they can.
Yeah. And the t-shirt and like the ripped jeans and t-shirt that looks normal is actually probably designer and very expensive. And I can't recognize that. And then people who seem to be like mid-level wealthy seem to just be kind of douchey about it and wanted you to know, like, I'm rich, look at my car, get me a table, bring me my drink, here's $20 to the hostess. And I'm like, oh, cool, thanks. And like, I didn't know I was supposed to do something with that. I was like, oh, that was very sweet of you to just give me $20. No, you were supposed to hasten their trip to the table and give them a good table. And I was just like, nice. I was totally Catherine about it. I was like, so
thanks
kind.
for the 20.
No ulterior motive.
Yeah, I think nowadays, because we don't interact in those ways, we have to find other signifiers. So just 2 or 3 days ago on Twitter, I saw Versace was selling like a combat boot, a pair of combat boots for like $1,200. And other than having like V's etched into the sole and like they had some extra strappage up top that was completely superfluous. I mean, they legitimately were identical to the everyday combat boots I wore that cost, $120. And you're like, okay, you could pay 10 times as much. Sure.
Do you think the quality's any different?
Oh, no, certainly not. They looked exactly the same. No. And then a few years ago, I don't remember if it was Saks Fifth Avenue or some high-end department store was selling, I don't remember the price, but it was some exorbitant amount for a pet rock in a box.
Nice.
It was a rock, and they were selling it for a few $100s or something crazy.
What was your pet rock's name?
Bob.
Bob the Rock. Bob Rocks.
Isn't that's a good name for a rock, isn't it?
Sure. You had a pet rock and you had an invisible dog.
That was a great rock, by the way. It was like egg shaped. It was like very smooth and like perfectly formed.
Have you not found it again? I would bet anything that it's in the cabinet in your old room.
I don't know. We've pretty much cleared that out. So well, then take a look. I don't know.
Poor Bob.
Oh, yeah, poor thing. I did find, well, anyway. We will digress on family memories later. Let's get back to Catherine and Northanger Abbey. So dinner happens, and a storm starts coming up, and so now Catherine, she's in the groove now. She's like, oh yeah, this is Gothic. This is what it needs to be, right? Needs that nice stormy night. So goes back up to her room, and now, as if the chest wasn't enough, now she sees a cabinet that she hadn't seen before.
Spooky.
So I'm wondering about this girl's powers of observation here.
Yeah, how do you miss a cabinet? How big is this room?
Cabinet. I mean, it is a lacquered Japan cabinet. So Japan, it's not from Japan. The country is this lowercase j, Japan. This is lacquered in like black and yellow, basically. So it's some kind of hard lacquer.
Which is not.
So she tries to open it.
It's not the black and gold of Henry's story in the chase.
Oh,
but it's close enough.
No, it's close enough. Gee, I wonder where he got his material from, right? Yeah. So she tries to open it, but it doesn't. She can't get it. But eventually she does. And it's empty. But she looks. Oh, there's drawers. She checks the drawers. But she's not fooled. A lot of these drawers, they have false linings. So she's checking for the false linings. Oh, they're not there either. But then, now she sees it. There's another door with a key in it. She's going to get it this time.
This is beyond
She
snooping,
opens it.
though. This is now
yeah,
beyond.
this is serious.
She's getting keys and Jimmy and locks and
she's looking for false bottoms. Yeah.
So she's like be turning over the portraits looking for safes behind them or something. Mm-hmm. This is beyond snooping. Exactly. She's got a problem.
But her curiosity is rewarded. She finds some papers in there. And then the lights go out. Oh man, this chapter more than any other is an episode of Scooby-Doo. I mean, I joked about it last episode, but this is so cliche. I mean, I guess we get our cliches from history, right? Well, and this stuff was cliche, I think, because Austen is satirizing Gothic novels. This stuff must have been cliche even to the readers by this point, right?
And we're still doing it because it works.
We're still doing it.
People eat it up.
Nothing new under the sun, right? So her candle goes out. She races into bed. She is freaked out. So now it's almost like, the kid in the woods for the first time. Like, she's hearing every creak of the house. Mm-hmm. She's hearing people in the hallways. And this girl is freaked out until 3 a.m. before she falls asleep.
That's late for Catherine.
That's very late. And imagine, this is early 1800s. Her fire has gone out. Her candle has gone out. She's in a stone abbey. We don't know if the moon is up, but there would be the barest, if any, amount of light in that room. It is pitch dark in there.
No wonder
she's just laying there. Yeah, and she's laying there till 3 a.m.
I remember having that kind of terror as a child, frozen in fear because I just knew there was a vampire outside my window, or there were aliens in my room, or lobsters.
They can't come in unless you
bed.
invite them.
Well, I didn't know that.
See, that's why, listeners, you have to teach your children vampire lore early. Don't invite them in.
And they don't make children vampires. That's a rule. They usually
now they
don't.
do.
They do, but they're not supposed to.
What is that? Vampirina on is that Nickelodeon or Disney?
So,
I forget.
Disney. Yeah, have you ever watched What We Do in the Shadows?
No, I haven't.
That is good. It's a movie, but it's also a series, and I love it. And it's a mockumentary of vampires that live in Staten Island.
Oh,
it's good. It's
I've seen clips. Yeah,
it's Jermaine Clement from Flight of the Conchords. I really like it.
It looks funny. Yeah, I'll check it out. So that brings us to chapter 22. Morning light comes in. She can read these papers finally. The maid comes in, gets out of there. I'm going to read these papers. She picks them up, and
it's a receipt.
For wash. It's laundry tickets. And the next one is a laundry ticket. The next one is she's got a stack of laundry tickets until she finds the farrier's bill at the end. So it's just a bunch of receipts.
The most boring thing to find.
Absolutely. This is legitimately eggs, milk, bread. And was freaked out till 3 a.m.
Not even a private diary or even a to-do list with something nefarious on it, like
right,
fairy wife.
right. Order more rat poison, right? Yeah, so at least she feels silly about it. And then goes down, and Henry is there, and they start talking about flowers. She says, I've learned to love a hyacinth. And Henry kind of, oh, really? You've learned to love a hyacinth? Maybe someday in time you will also learn to appreciate a rose. And like, what a jerk this dude is. So this section really brought me back to thinking about, either, Catherine is just a Mary Sue character where everybody just loves her, even though she has like no redeeming qualities about her. Or is Austen kind of poking fun at us, the reader, by making Catherine like just the dullest, most dim-witted person, and yet she's like the hero of the book? Or, theory number 3, was this attractive back then? Ooh. Like, was the empty-headed nothingness attractive? Full disclosure, I grew up watching a lot of anime, and sort of the klutzy, clumsy girl in Japan is like endearing, and she's the cute girl in all the anime, right? So maybe Catherine being a complete idiot is like Henry's just like melting over here as he's making fun of her.
I think the empty-headed thing is definitely something people find attractive now.
Really?
Just like there's theories like
now.
Like sure. Well, and here's why I think that it might be something that some people find attractive throughout the ages, is that what Henry says is that he likes her teachable disposition, and he likes that she can learn to love something, having been taught. Eleanor is the one who helped her love a hyacinth, or I think that's what it was.
So do you think it's more, it's not so much that she's empty-headed as the attractiveness, but rather that she is, I guess, not maturing, but like, I can grow with this person because, if I like something, she's just not going to dismiss it out of turn as like, oh, that's horrible. But she could learn to appreciate different things as we grow older together.
I think yes, but I also think that you're giving Henry a much more endearing sentiment than I was assuming. I thought he was thinking like, I can influence her and she'll think what I think, and we'll be completely compatible because she has no thoughts of her own and she will just take on mine. So she's not teachable necessarily as she is influenceable. She's easily influenced.
And easily influenced.
Yeah.
So I think so. Put a pin in that. In about 2 minutes, I think we're going to come back to that.
Okay.
All right. So they finish breakfast, or they're at breakfast, and the general is doing his typical false modesty about everything, and Catherine's admiring their tea set, and he says, maybe we will have an occasion for a new set soon, and
new
this is
set of china.
We're going to start tracking times things just go over Catherine's head because she does not pick up on this. She's like, oh, I guess they're going to buy some new china. Okay, Catherine.
Why would they buy new china?
Exactly. So now we're going to start taking a tour. Like, Catherine wants, she's just arrived yesterday, so now we need to show her around. Let her see what's going on. And the general's going to do it, even though she's like, does the general really have to do it?
And we also, before the walk, we also find out, at least I'm not sure if it's before the walk, but in this chapter we find out that the Tilneys are quite wealthy. If we haven't all gotten that already from the Abbey,
right,
and from everything, they're really wealthy.
Like
really,
super wealthy.
Really wealthy. Like Henry doesn't need a job, kind of wealthy.
As we'll get to in a minute.
Okay.
So they start taking a walk, and this starts setting off. This gets Catherine a little suspicious because, the general's going to take them, and wait a minute. Why does the general take his walk so early? So, as we quote here, neither her father nor Mr. Allen did so. It was certainly very provoking.
What a weirdo.
Why does this guy walk so early? Ugh. Yeah, seriously. So anyway, they start walking around. So now we've got the general, Eleanor, and Catherine taking a little walk. And so here's the point earlier. We were talking about, Henry being able to influence her. So she's looking around the grounds at Northanger. And she says, if only Henry had been here. But now she should not know what was picturesque when she saw it. So this girl has zero opinion of her own. She's like, I need Henry to tell me what's beautiful here because I just don't know.
Does she even know the definition of picturesque?
Picturesque? I don't think
if you knew the definition, then you could probably pick out what was picturesque.
Well, she needs Henry to tell her what's good because she just doesn't know at this point. But, she does. And then later it says that what she liked, she blurts out her appreciations. And she says, I like this. I quote, without waiting for any better authority. So without waiting for somebody who knows better, Catherine's just going to blurt out her dumb opinion.
So do you think that is Catherine saying that about herself? Or is that Austen's opinion about her own character?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So honestly, I think, Austen's like, let's all laugh at this chick.
Yeah.
Right now.
Normally, Catherine would not say so because she doesn't know any better. But now she's so, not indelicate, uncouth, not uncouth, but that idea. She doesn't even know any better with uncultured. There you go. She's so uncultured, she just blurts out her own opinion, which I think could be a wry way of Austen, critiquing it, but also, this girl needs to stand on her own 2 feet. And so, also critiquing the society in which if you don't have, an educated opinion, you have no right to give an opinion on subject X.
Right. Well, think back to all of the vast opinions Mrs. Allen has. She's our other than Isabella. She's our other woman
character.
Right. And then when they go on the carriage ride and Mr. Allen kind of chides the idea of riding an open carriage with a young man and a young woman on their own and how awful that is, Catherine's like, Mrs. Allen, why did you tell me? And she's like, oh, well,
Yeah, I don't.
But I agree with my husband. She's like, what?
He's right.
Why did you let me do something so improper?
Mrs. Allen.
She's like, well, remember when you wanted to buy that dress that I didn't like? You wouldn't listen to me. It's like,
yeah.
Not the same, Mrs. Allen. Thank you.
Not quite. Not quite at all. So I think, get on my soapbox for a second, I think, social media in our society has swung it a little too far in the other direction, because suddenly anybody with a computer and a laptop can have a YouTube channel or podcast and suddenly be an authority on something. So, I don't know. Maybe Austen has some things to say about us.
I wouldn't necessarily cite us in your essay for school on Northanger Abbey. You can.
Certainly not. I mean, you can.
I do have a master's degree, but I don't know.
It's a bold move. So anyway, so they're walking around the grounds. General's humble bragging the whole time, talking about this stuff. And eventually he walks off. And this is the crux of the mystery. So Eleanor does mention, this was my mother's favorite walk. And Catherine, why on earth is the general not walking your mother's favorite walk? He must not have loved her.
And why is your mother's favorite walk such a depressed walk? A depressed path?
She must have been an unhappy person here in the house.
This has got to be one of the biggest jumps.
Yes. The total shift here is, we've had, 19, 20 chapters of Bath and silly Isabella and the Thorpes. And then now all of a sudden, Catherine just sort of being the blank slate that is sort of observing all these activities in Bath. And now all of a sudden, she is trying to solve this mystery of why General Tilney has killed his wife. It's like, Or did he? We'll get to that next chapter.
She's so like, how many books does she read? Because how and why would you make this jump?
Okay, let's hold that thought for the next chapter, because I have a thought on that. But yeah, so basically, the mother's portrait, where is it? Oh, it's in Eleanor's room. It was supposed to be in the drawing room, but Dad didn't like it. Wait, he didn't like it. Why isn't it in his room? He must not have loved his mother. And so, I love the description here when she mentions, when Catherine tries to figure out where the portrait is. When she asks, is there a portrait of your mother in the house? Yes, it looks quite like her. And she says, her picture, I suppose, blushing at the consummate art of her own question, hangs in your father's room? Cat thinks she's being slick here. She's like, I guess it's in your dad's room, huh?
Because he loves her so much and wants to stare at his dead wife constantly.
Right, exactly. So now it has changed, her, whatever opinion she has changed to absolute aversion to the general. Like, she can't stand this man who murdered his wife and didn't love her.
How big could this portrait be? Like, I picture a wealthy family commissioned portraits as they did. It's not.
It's got to be life size, right?
It's got to be huge.
Oh, right. It's like a mantelpiece. It's like the the presidential portraits in the White House. Like, it's gigantic. Right?
And if it's not perfect, or if you don't like it, or they didn't quite get your wife's likeness, or she's gone and you miss her, you're tormented. I wouldn't want a giant life-size portrait of Ben even after he passes. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, it's your.
Said I did.
You wouldn't.
I don't.
You wouldn't hang it in your room. Well, see, the cool thing is we have these things called pictures that are exact replicas. So you don't need to commission a portrait painter to remember what
people
he looked like.
Still do, though.
Do they?
They do. Sometimes, and I've seen it because
I have never seen someone with a portrait painted in their house.
I've never seen anyone, but Ben and I like to look at properties that we could never afford in the area that are like $6 million. And when you snoop on those properties, I have seen giant portraits in these houses.
Once again, spending money on things that you absolutely probably don't even need.
It's like,
once again, we have pictures.
It's like the you probably haven't, but the show Schitt's Creek is phenomenal, and they're a wealthy family that has fallen, and they're so wealthy they have this enormous, absurdly large portrait of themselves, which comes back later on the show. I think you would really like it. It's Jean Levy, and it's
I do like Jean Levy.
Yeah, it's Catherine O'Hara. It's what's his name? Chris. I can't remember.
Christopher Guest. So it's a Christopher Guest show. Is that what you're saying?
I don't think it's Christopher Guest.
Oh,
Dan and Dan Levy, Eugene Levy's son. They did it together. It's
okay. I'll say you put Catherine O'Hara and Eugene Levy together, you basically have a Christopher Guest movie.
Right.
You're halfway there.
And it's hilarious. And it's exactly what you would expect from them. So you should watch it. It's on Netflix.
Oh, okay. I probably should then.
Yeah.
All right. So if you're wondering why my sister keeps mentioning this stuff, I don't watch television. I last had a television in 2001. So that's where my generally television pop culture knowledge ends. Was in 2001. So I do have the internet, so I'm not a complete hermit. But anyway, if I don't see enough buzz about something on the internet, I don't even know what it is, because I don't see commercials. Anyway, so now we get into chapter 23. They've seen the house, or now they're going to see the house. They saw the grounds, checked all that out. They see the house, and they show Catherine the closed rooms that used to be the cloister of the abbey, and now she's like really her spidey sense is tingling. And so much so that she loses track of where they are. And they're through 5 or 6 different rooms. They go through the general's private billiard room, and they wind up in Henry's room, which is just a mess. It's guns and greatcoats just strewn about, which kind of makes you wonder, how many greatcoats do you need?
One for each gun.
I suppose so. Which, I think this is Austen Riley commenting on the male of her species at the time. But anyway.
Guns and greatcoats.
Yeah. She's completely not impressed with... So the general has made many modern improvements to the grounds, and the property, and the kitchens, all for the ease of their servants. And Catherine doesn't care. Why did you sweep away all this beautiful old architecture for this crap, she thinks. She also kind of runs into the reality of how many servants they have. And she's like, in all my books, there's usually like 2. And there's just everywhere.
Everything, too.
Everything. And I did these guys, so apparently the general does not ever patrol the grounds because she, at one point, what's the word? Like, they basically run into half-naked servants, like guys getting dressed. Dishabelle, yes. Wherever they went, some patterned girl stopped to curtsy, or some footman in Dishabille sneaked off. That's like, Dishabille is like from the French. It's a Anglicization of French, meaning like half-dressed. Like, sort of like, I guess, disheveled-ish, but like, so these dudes are like getting dressed. So, I don't know, was Austin saying like these dudes are sneaking out of the serving girls' rooms? Like, I wasn't quite sure what she was getting at here.
Maybe one in all of those things. Like, he doesn't know where the quote-unquote master of the house should not be there. They don't expect it. They definitely are surprising these dudes because they're running around. Like, a dude is coming out, I guess, into the hallway or whatever, like half-dressed. And he's like, oh, there's the general. And they're rushing off. Anyway, the scurrying of the servants as they walk just was a fun picture. So she's convinced that he's murdered his wife, right? Until this chapter,
right? So then, there's one more, since we're counting up these references. He makes another comment about, hosting her family or their friends from Fullerton. And she's just not getting the message that he's sending that, you guys are going to be here a lot. Like, your family's coming here a lot because you're going to be here. Finally, they're going to go see their mother's rooms. Eleanor's going to show her rooms, but they end up not. And Catherine says, oh, the general must not want to even go in there. It must be so distressing to him because of what he's done to her. They said, has your mother's rooms been fixed up? And she makes the comment that 9 years is a trifle of time from someone's death to have put their rooms aright. So, Catherine's read these books where the person dies and the room is immediately locked and shuttered for 20 years and no one's gone in there. And, she's like, oh, 9 years? And you've already fixed it up? Oh, that's not even... You shouldn't have fixed it up after 9 years. Certainly it's still the same as the day she died. Cover's still strewn amiss and everything. So here, this is where she really gets on the murder kick, because Eleanor was not home when her mother died, which Catherine makes the immediate leap that no one was home but the general.
Why she doesn't ask about the rest of the family.
Right, which, as we'll find later, but yes, now she's on to the general. He murdered his wife. And so this was a fun comment that I had to look up. So she says that he has the air and attitude of a Montoni.
Yeah, what's a Montoni? Did you look it up?
I did look it up.
What is it?
And so Montoni was the villain from, guess what book?
Udolpho.
Mysteries of Udolpho. Da, da, da. So obviously, this Montoni cat and Mysteries of Udolpho, this must have been some kind of ubiquitous cultural reference that, readers of Northanger Abbey would have instantly picked up on. Like if we said, I don't know, Darth Vader or Captain Hook or something as a shorthand for something evil.
Or like
I don't know.
If you make any reference to Harry Potter.
Right, a Voldemort, right? Or
that would have been, even though I've never read Harry Potter, ever.
You knew what it was, though, right?
I do, and...
See? It's a ubiquitous cultural reference.
It is.
So 200 years from now, is somebody going to say Darth Vader, and people are going to be like, what are you talking about, man? I don't know, though. I am kind of old, and I feel like every week or so, I'll see something on Twitter about someone saying, oh, I saw Star Wars for the first time. Somebody in their 20s, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, what? You saw Star Wars for the first time?
Didn't your wife see it for the first time?
She did.
You guys got married, which I can't even believe you got married without showing it to her.
Yeah, I didn't know I had showed it to her. and she had to sit there and take notes. She's like, now which one is Han Solo, and what is this shit? And I was like, how are you alive in America in the year of our Lord 2004 at this point and not know who these characters are? Like,
and when you say she had to take notes, you mean she loved you so much that she wanted to write it down to make sure she got it right, or you demanded that she write it down because you were going to quiz her later?
This is her own idea. This is her own idea.
Aww.
You know? Okay, like for example, I don't have a television, right? I've never seen Breaking Bad, right? But if you say Walter White to me, I know what that is, but I've never seen it.
If you say Heisenberg,
right?
Do you know what that is?
Yeah,
okay.
See? Exactly. There you go, right? Like, I can pick up on cultural references without ever actually seeing the thing that it comes from. I'm not stupid, right? You know? I remember I was, a couple of years ago, I walked past somebody with a bumper sticker on their car that said, you know, I drive like a Cullen. And I was like, oh, God. And I just rolled my eyes. Hey, I know what that was from.
I don't know. What's a Cullen?
It's Twilight. Oh, see? I got one up on you then. Yeah.
There's a new one of those coming out.
I bought it. Yes, I know.
What? Why would you do that?
I have a good excuse.
No, you don't.
Because
you don't.
I do.
There isn't one.
I listen in addition to doing a good book.
Right.
I listen to a bad book podcast, and that's the book we're doing now. So I read it so I can listen to the podcast.
And not to shame things, not to shame readers. You want to read. I'm a little bit of a snotty jerk when it comes to literature, which I said on our very first episode, so no one should be surprised. But
if you want to read, yes. But know what you're reading. Like, if you're reading the Twilight books, please know that you're reading, like, brain candy garbage. It's not good.
It's not good.
Just know that before you read it. But read it. That's fine. You know?
Yeah. And then
please.
Read something else, too.
Or just listen to us read good books to you. Because that's what we do on this podcast.
Maybe
rate and review us on iTunes. Leave a 5-star review.
Maybe we're going to get our first hate mail.
now we get our hate mail. I love the Twilight books. They're excellent. Oh, okay. Well, you know what? I'm going to read one, and I'm going to find out.
You're just really going for the hate mail.
I am. Yeah. You send it. You know, this is the modern age. You can send us a voicemail attached to an email, and you can mock us all you want. Okay, so now.
That's serious.
Okay, so
I'm gonna read my hate email to you in a voicemail. So anyway, the end of this.
All right,
chapter.
So continuing on. So now, so they're back at the house, and the general. So this is what I wanted to talk about a little bit here. So the general is pacing the rooms, and Kat is just staring at this. She's like, "What is this guy doing? He's just look at him. He's probably feeling all the guilt from killing his wife, and he can't stand it." And she is staring at him so much that Eleanor notices him and has to remark that, "Hey, no, this is cool. It's normal. He always walks about like this time of day." Which brings up to me, what did people do before television? The dude is just walking around his dining room or whatever.
He's thinking.
Like, he's just pacing. I mean, without video games or television, like, he's just spending his time walking around the room.
He's thinking about his job.
Right.
What China to get.
Wife he murdered. The guilt is eating him alive. Because you know what else he does, Meredith? After dinner?
Kyle?
He doesn't go to bed after dinner like a normal person. He stays up to read stupid pamphlets. Not likely. He's got something sinister going on. Kat's got him figured out. She knows.
She knows why his lamplight glimmers through the lower windows as he passes too.
Because he's got to do something that he can only do when everyone's asleep. Wait a minute. He's taking food to his wife who's not even dead. He has her locked up in those rooms. That's what it is.
His imprisoned wife. Like
Mrs. Tilney. Mrs. Tilney is still alive, and she's going to solve this mystery. She is going to stay up all night until she catches his light across the courtyard, walking into Mrs. Tilney's room. Until she falls asleep at 11:30 anyway. Oh, Catherine.
This is hilarious, but if you read Jane Eyre, which you haven't read Jane Eyre, spoiler alert, there was somebody locked up in the house, and it's the guy's.
Wait, I have read Jane Eyre. That's Heathcliff, right? Is that Heathcliff?
No, Heathcliff.
Or is that? No, who is he from? He's from. What's the other one that's like that? Not Jane Eyre. What's the other Gothic book?
Jane Eyre is Jane and Mr. Rochester.
So what's Heathcliff? Who's he from?
I don't know.
He's from Wuthering Heights. Wuthering Heights.
Oh,
there's that person locked up in Wuthering Heights too.
See, so she's not out of her mind.
See, Catherine knows. She must have read Wuthering Heights. When was that printed? I don't even know. We could look that up.
I don't think she's read it.
No.
But there's
why don't you?
People up in the house.
They are. Oh yeah, Wuthering Heights wasn't until 1847. This is long past. So this was a cliche trope 50 years after Cat was around.
It's a good one. It clearly sets people's hearts aflutter and their minds a-thinking.
Exactly. Well, there you go. So there you go. That's why Jane Eyre is exactly like Wuthering Heights. Jane Eyre was written by Charlotte Bronte, and Emily Bronte wrote Wuthering Heights. They're just cribbing off each other.
Like in the same room. So what's going to happen in your book now?
They were both 1847, so I don't know. Seems pretty suspicious. I've only read the one, so I don't know.
Jane Eyre's good. Although,
just so I could...
just so you could what?
Just so I could understand the song. But anyway.
Jane Eyre was the one book in my high school career that I didn't want to read, and I thought I could stay home from school one day and read the entire thing. Didn't work.
You couldn't read it all in one shot?
No. And then I decided I didn't like it. But it's a fabulous book. I don't know why. Anyway.
They are good books.
Chapter 24.
Perhaps we will read them in season 2.
Ooh, season. We should call them seasons.
We probably should talk about seasoning some of these things, and then we can probably
allspice or pepper.
Do thematic seasons.
All right.
Anyway, we're down the road. All right, so chapter 24, I affectionately call CSI Northanger. So now, she goes to church and she sees the monument to Mrs. Tilney in the pew, and she's shocked and amazed that the general can sit there. Of course he put it up, but how can he sit here in church? And, perhaps she could go down to the family crypt and look in the coffin and find the ashes. And, but no, they can make wax figures and fake the ashes. So,
fake a whole burial.
She's got this all figured out, all the angles.
She's so smart.
She is. But eventually, she does get into the mother's room. Eleanor takes her. And it's like, oh,
she's disappointed.
Okay. It's the room. It looks fine. The portrait, I don't know. It doesn't look like Eleanor or Henry. Yeah. Okay.
Which she thinks is weird, but meh.
It is, I guess, a little weird. You should
Perhaps
see
that's why
some
her
features.
husband doesn't like it.
Maybe it could be.
Why. They didn't get her likeness.
Well, Eleanor said it was a good likeness.
Oh.
So I don't know. So then, Dad's in the hallway. The general shouts out, "Eleanor!" And she comes racing back. And, now Kat's all freaked out. And as she's racing back to her rooms, what happens?
What happens?
You read the book, didn't you? Mr. Tilney, how came you by these stairs?
Oh, yeah.
Henry shows up.
Comes home. He's not expected for 2 days.
She's like, why are you on these stairs, Henry? And he's like, A, this is my house, and this is the fastest way to get from the stables to my room. And B, why are you on these stairs? Your room is nowhere near here.
Well, I was confused because I thought we were still with Eleanor, and she had gone off by herself, Catherine, to investigate without Eleanor.
True, because she got called away.
Yeah, so extra Snoopy.
Yes.
And then she sees Henry, and this is the first time in her life she hasn't wanted to talk to him or be near him, or she just wants to get away from him because she's
caught in the act.
Yeah.
Which I guess brings up so socially, I mean, you're inviting someone to stay in your house. Like, I mean, did they explicitly say the North Corridor is out of bounds or whatever? I mean,
like when Belle goes to the Beast Castle, they're like, stay out of the West Wing. She's like, well, what's in the West Wing?
Well, what's in there? Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think they told her you can't go in certain places of the house. I mean, isn't it just sort of assumed? I mean, I don't know. Would it not be assumed that the person would have free reign of the house? Because, again, you're not, there's not like a tennis court out back. You're not watching TV together. Like, there's, your dad's just doing laps in the dining room. What else are you going to do? I mean,
I think there would still be a little expectation of some privacy. Like, here's your room, here's because I think there are like common rooms. Here's the parlor, the drawing room. This is the parlor where we accept guests, which is much bigger than the parlor where we sit and have
We've had some quite famous ones there.
Oh, yes.
Some notable persons.
So, I don't think you should be snooping in every single room.
I suppose not.
And it's weird to be in the dead mom's room.
Houses. So, listeners, if you ever invite me to your house, just full disclosure, I'm going to look in every room. Just FYI. That's what I do. I'm totally with Kat on this one.
I totally thought you guys were coming here to our house today, so I cleaned really well. And then when I found out it was Mom, I was like, oh, forget it.
I clean. I should have cleaned. Those are my parents, whatever.
Only because it would be your first time seeing our house.
See, it's the old bait and switch, see? Well, so anyway.
But now I have a nice day.
Why we didn't come to your house. Yeah, I thought we were going to do our second straight pod from the same room, but, that went out the window. Yeah. All right. So anyway, so Henry's talking to her, and they're talking about, what was going on in Bath. And she's like, I don't know what's going on in Bath. Isabella said that she was going to write me daily. She faithfully promised. And here we get back to my Henry Tilney is a dick theory. He starts ribbing her about, faithfully promised. How do you faithfully promise something? You can only faithfully do something. You promise or you don't promise, but you can't faithfully promise. Like, Henry, you are so draining. Please stop.
The fidelity of promising?
Oh. Yeah. I was just I'm not on board with this cat. But she does get a bit of information. He suspects what she's doing and kind of shames her about it and says, how dare you think that, that my father murdered my mother? And why would you think so? And she said, because you guys weren't home. How do you know what happened? He goes, what are you talking about? My brother and I were here. We were with her till the last. Dad was superintendent. He was crushed when she died. Like, you horrible person, Catherine, you. Why would you think that? Yeah. So this whole part, I was just like, oh, geez, Catherine. Like,
and the way it's written, I imagine in my mind's eye when I'm watching the movie in my brain, they're having this conversation. He says, and from these circumstances, you infer perhaps a probability of some negligence, or it may be of something still less pardonable. And this is what gets me. She raised her eyes towards him more fully than she had ever done before. So I feel like she's looking at him like, yeah, say it.
Yeah.
Say it. You're going to admit it to me. Like, she's not convinced that she's an idiot.
Your mother's still alive. Yeah.
He's going to tell me.
Poor girl.
Yeah. But his mother's illness, long lasting, although the episode that took her life was sudden.
Sudden.
They were home, and she's not buried in the house. She's not trapped in the house.
Right. So yeah. Again, I have to think that Austen is not sympathetic to her quote unquote heroine at all. So I think she's using Catherine. So Catherine is not a fully formed character like actual heroic heroine like say Eliza Bennet in Pride and Prejudice. She is definitely just this empty vessel that Austen is pouring her contempt and criticism of society at large through.
I wonder how...
Which could be why the publishers didn't want to publish it, because they saw through what Austen was doing. It was like, well, we'll wait till she's dead and she's popular, and now we can traffic on her. Like, write us a good, normal book, Austen. Because, her other... Sense and Sensibility and Pride and Prejudice, the only other two that I've read, are much more straightforward books.
in what they're trying to communicate. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they critique society, sure, but with more sympathetic characters, shall we say.
I'm wondering if I don't know what, I know she was writing, this is quote unquote her first book, but there is, what's her real very, very first thing she ever wrote, or, whatever. And I'm wondering if she like throws down all of this critique into this book, and she's writing it all out because she just can't take it, and she enjoys writing, and then she's like, damn, I'm pretty good, actually. I'm a pretty good writer. She's
young and hungry, and she's got all this fire, and she's gonna just throw down everything she has. Yeah.
I don't blame her.
And then later she's like, well, maybe I should temper it a little bit and get stuff that people will actually read, and I'll subtly criticize as opposed to, just outright doing it.
I once started a blog for the same reasons. And then abandoned it. So long ago. Anyway.
I just get my cathartic response by yelling at my local representative on Twitter. Anyway. So now we've got a chapter 25, big news. So we get a letter. So we just talked about Catherine hasn't had any letters at Northanger, even though Isabella says she's going to write daily. Well, the post comes the next day, and Henry says, hey, look, Catherine, we got a letter for your brother. How exciting. And everybody's all ready for her to read it. Yay. And because these people have nothing else to do, they all stand around while she's reading it.
Watch each other read letters.
They watch each other read letters. And, immediately her countenance drops as she reads. And what do we find out in this letter?
She audibly gasps.
She gasps, curses. James has been undone. Isabella, her, inconsistent heart has been found out, and she has broken off the engagement because she has become engaged to Frederick Tilney.
That blushing cheek, he could not resist it. It's clear.
Exactly. And so now, she's very upset, but and I guess you just, back in the day when you got some mail, you just read it to everybody or just passed it around, because, she realizes this letter is pretty harsh towards their brother, and as it should be. And James says, hey, Catherine, my advice to you, don't give away your heart so easily, or watch what you do with your heart. And she's like, oh, he's referring to Henry. I can't let Henry read that. He'll realize. And I'm like, really? I don't know if it's quite so obvious, girl.
That horrible Christmas song is playing in my head now. That last Christmas, I gave you my heart.
I gave you my heart.
But the very next day,
you gave it away.
Oh,
this year,
to save you some tears.
Some tears. I'll give it to
someone
special. Oh gosh, come for the books, stay for the karaoke. So anyway, she lets them read it, and they're like, wait a minute, no. We know our brother. He's not gonna marry Isabella. Come on,
Henry's pretty confident of it.
Stupid. He's very confident. We're not stupid. Come on, our brother's. Are they basically saying our brother's a player? Like, he's just gonna love him and leave him, and he's gonna go back to his unit. Yes. He's done with it.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, they know.
Or that their dad will just squash the whole thing.
Right. Either on the basis of the Thorpes have no money, or he's gonna meet Isabella and be like, oh, no.
Yeah.
This is not gonna work.
Absolutely.
To which I have to wonder, as they're giving these critiques, Catherine going, Isabella's my friend. Like, has she even realized at any point that Isabella's just a horrible person? I don't think she still has.
She does.
She kind of starts to?
Yeah. Because her brother, she cares about her brother, and he's been destroyed,
he's been
embarrassed, and mortified, and it's inconceivable. I don't know.
Yeah, she does say, I am hurt and grieved. I cannot still love her, and that I'm never to hear from her, perhaps never to see her again. I actually don't feel so very much afflicted as one would have thought.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Just yesterday I was crying that she hadn't written me, and now I'm like, you know what? If I don't ever see Isabella again, that's all right.
Yeah.
I'm cool.
That's a major point of growth, I think, because people stay in abusive friendships or unhealthy ones, or what's the pop term now, like toxic people or whatever, and you stay friends with someone
toxic
because it's like, but Isabella said, she does that thing that people do where she compliments and no one could ever love you as much as me, and I'm your friend, and I'll love you more than my own sisters, which is nice in the moment to hear, and then she's a jerk. So
remember, Catherine takes everything at face value.
Right. So for Catherine to say, you know what, I actually don't
feel so bad.
Yeah, I think that's a good moment of growth for Catherine.
She's critically examining her own friendship with Isabella and realizing, yeah, you know what, I'm good.
Yeah, I had a friend like that.
Good for her. Good job, Catherine.
To say, nope.
See, I just don't have friends. That saves all the trouble. All right, so chapter 26, our last chapter of this section. So big events in this one. My goodness. So Henry says, you know what? I got some work to do. I got the parsonage meeting on Monday. So I probably should head back. Which it kind of makes me wonder, he doesn't have to go back to preach on Sunday. Like, what kind of clergy is this dude? Maybe like, he's like, I got to go for the elders meeting on Monday, but I don't care about preaching on Sunday.
Yeah, maybe he's like an underling. Like, he's not the minister. He's like a sub.
Or he's like the head pastor. He's letting the junior pastor preach on Sundays.
Maybe he's the junior pastor. He's like the youth group leader.
Could be. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, he's only 24. So,
yeah.
Possible. So anyways, he's got to go back. But then Dad drops the bomb and says, you know what? I think we should come visit you sometime. You got your meeting on Monday. I got some stuff to do on Tuesday. We'll be down Wednesday. That's cool. And suddenly Henry's like, oh, you're coming Wednesday? I'm going to leave a couple days early then. I really need to get back and get stuff ready.
And Dad says, no. You don't need to do all that. I don't need anything. Whatever you happen to have in the fridge is fine.
Right. To which, I can just picture the scene where, like, Eleanor is, like, standing behind Henry going, this ain't going to work. Like, I know, Dad, you got to get back quick.
Go. You should leave now.
And, of course, again, Catherine, taking everything at face value, says, oh, your dad said don't do anything special. Like, and Eleanor's like, no. Come on, Catherine. Listen to me and Henry. Like, we're tracking on this.
The biggest hint that Catherine is not getting is that marrying Henry Tilney would be miserable because now that's going to be your father-in-law. And you have to deal with him, and you don't know cues or hints or clues or body language or facial features or anything to help you along.
Yeah, she is definitely trading on her good looks at this point, and that every time the general's around her, he melts and just compliments her to the hilt. So she's going to be riding that for a while, I think.
That's all she's got going for her at this point.
Yeah. So then we go...
visit Woodston.
The 2.5 hour ride.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we go visit Woodston. 2.5 hour ride up there. They tour around the grounds. It's a cute little house. It's just missing a woman's touch.
She likes it so much. There's no other place she'd rather be.
No. And at this point, like, it's almost like the general's like elbowing her as he's saying these things, right? Like, it's just missing a woman's touch.
We're going to get rid of this building unless
you like it.
Basically, is what he said. She's like, I love it. He's, we'll keep it then.
Nothing's changing. Yeah, she's finally kind of getting it a little bit, maybe.
She does.
I think she finally picks up on it. Like, wait a minute.
At least that she picks up that the general wants her to marry Henry. She's not quite totally sure if Henry wants to marry her.
Right.
Could you consider them? Have they been dating? Like, have they been?
Basically,
I mean, courting is you like chit chat and flirt, and then like, hey, let's get married.
Right, like you have to eventually take the walk around the garden or whatever to talk. But I mean, they danced. I mean, it wasn't just once or twice. They danced multiple nights. Multiple dances, multiple nights in Bath. I mean, they basically were, going steady for those couple of weeks.
No wonder he was so upset she also danced with John.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So he's getting upset. Yeah. So
he does consider... that makes sense because he does consider marriage and dancing the same.
Right. The same. The fidelity required. So he obviously then didn't dance with anyone else in Bath, correct? That's my assumption. If he has this high opinion of dancing partners and...
Well, no, there was once when she missed her chance to dance with him because I think she was dancing with John and he was talking to Mrs. Allen, and then she came back over thinking, okay, my dance is over. John's had his 2 dances. Henry, I'm now free to dance with him. And I think she saw him walking off with someone else. He had asked someone else to dance already.
Okay. So maybe he's not as wedded to the dancing equals marriage idea as he purported to be.
Well, maybe for the women it needs to be true, but not for him.
Not for the men. Come on now. Come on, you can't expect us to be tied down to one woman for life. Yeah. I mean, come on.
Why would you
even for like the dancing.
Why would you box yourself in by your own ethics and morals? That's ridiculous. They are for other people. Exactly.
He is a preacher. I'm saying. Yeah. All right, so we got the visit to Woodson. They have a great time. It's a nice little parsonage. She likes the cottage, and that's about
the biggest takeaway from that chapter.
For here. I don't know.
Yeah,
I got some police or ambulance going inside. That's nice. That's fun. So then she, they stay for the day. 6 o'clock rolls around. It's like, all right, we gotta hustle back. So, I mean, these people are 5 hours in a carriage up and back to go 20 miles. Like, it's pretty sad. I guess it just illustrates the smallness of their world.
Yeah.
In these days.
Well, not according to Henry. Remember, in the previous chapter, Henry was appalled that she could think a crime of the magnitude she accused his father of, at least internally accused him, could happen in a world such as theirs with their values and how interconnected their world
interconnected everything was.
Which is amazing. With every single new technology, do people suddenly go, oh my God, we're so connected now. We can write.
Crime is over. Well, I mean, you have to admit, in this day and age, with the prevalence of everyone having a video camera, internet-connected video camera in their hand, I mean, I think a lot of stuff gets caught nowadays and have a much lower crime rate than, 20, 30 years ago. So
Henry's got no idea what an interconnected world could be.
I don't think we do. I mean, once we're all part of the hive mind and, our brains are on one network, I think then we have something in for
right
us.
There. Which you don't watch. Do you get that?
I know what it is. Okay. I know what it is. Golly. I'm on the internet. Come on. All right, so that closes out chapter 26 with them going home, and Catherine's still kind of anxious because, she would have left happily had she known how and when she might return, which, okay, on the surface, but you know what? You're staying at Henry's house. Like, he could probably invite you over again next week. I mean, like...
You don't need to be that anxious about it, Kat.
I know, right? Like, he's going to come back to Northanger. Like, you're going to see him in a couple of days. All right, whatever. I don't know. Oh, the other thing I was going to say is the lack of Catherine picking up on any kind of clues just baffles me for a society where your whole goal was to get married to the richest guy you could. Like, you'd think she would be trained from age 10 or 11 on to, like, figure out how do you know if a guy likes you or not. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, they do stand around and watch each other read letters. You think you would really be able to pick up on the subtleties of the emotions going on?
Well, they read body language. I mean, as soon as she read the third line of James's letter, Henry and Eleanor were like, oh yeah, we saw your face drop. We know something bad must be in the letter. Like, so they do read body cues, like, to the T.
Well, Austin's just making sure that Catherine has no redeeming qualities or...
No. Yet every guy wants to dance with her and marry her.
At least the one that matters for sure.
Catherine.
I think another big deal for Catherine, though, sort of speaking of her growth, is that she has realized how silly she was to think these things, that not everything you read in a book is going to be reflected in life, that there's not some spirit waiting in the hall, or there's nothing hidden in these chests and things like that. At least not in England, she decides. This doesn't happen in England.
Should us 200 years on really take this as an accurate representation of English society in the early 1800s? Ooh, something to think about.
She does think that it could happen.
Austin's playing the long game here. This is all the long con.
She does think these crimes, though, and all of these things that happen in books could happen in a place like Italy or France.
Yeah, it's not in England. We're too modern. We're too civilized for that.
We're not a trash country like France or Italy.
And I love that her trash country compares France and Italy is the worst she could come up with, like, right? Like
the height of culture in like our minds.
Right.
No offense, England, but I'm not like impressed by your food or anything like that. Maybe.
Dad was just telling us this morning about visiting Wales and eating. Have you heard the story? The breakfast at the hotel. Yeah, he said they were like these black potato chips or whatever, and he starts eating them, and he's like, these aren't that. What are these? These aren't that good. You know, maybe it's like over crisp bacon or something. And the waitress or whatever comes by, and she's like, "Oh, you don't want to eat that. That's pig's blood." He's like, "Oh, okay."
But it was meant to be eaten.
Well, yes, but probably by just the disgusting, you disgusting UK people, not us Americans with our sweet palates.
We are
can't
going
eat pig's
for
blood.
We're going for this hate mail. We're gonna get some.
Yeah, if you're going to offend some country, may as well. I've been watching a lot of Hamilton this week. May as well offend England. You know.
You'll be back.
Anyway. All right. So I think on that note, we better close this thing out, huh?
It's been a while.
It's been long enough.
All right.
I was gonna say. Well, anyway.
This section was a lot of fun, and I think I've been reading ahead. I'm almost done, actually, because I gotta record my chapters.
Yeah, I gotta do mine too.
I can't wait to talk about the next section. Also, I think it's gonna be really good.
Tantalizing. So tune in tomorrow to these chapters that we will already have recorded by the time you listen to this.
The height of drama occurs.
Oh my goodness. I'm ready.
I literally couldn't stop reading. I was like, I'm just going to sit up in bed and read for a little bit while I nurse. And then I was suddenly awake and I couldn't stop reading. I wasn't like that drowsy, like nodding off. I needed to know what happened. And I kept going. And I was like, I really need to get some sleep. But that's how good it was.
Interesting. I mean, I enjoyed this section. I thought the drama was, Austen brought it to a quick resolution, which in retrospect, I think was probably smart, because had she drugged this out anymore, I think it would trend into the realm of farce as opposed to just light satire. Mm-hmm. You know, so, the tonal shifts in this section, I think now she's gone from critiquing English society to maybe the silliness of young empty-headed girls that just read all the time. So maybe she's making a pitch for more education for women. I don't know.
We'll have to find out.
Throwing that out there. All right. Well, you will find out along with us, dear listeners, tomorrow when we have the thrilling conclusion to Northanger Abbey. So tune in for that. Hit us up on the socials with that hate mail, please. You can hit us at cystpod@gmail.com, or we are on Twitter, Instagram, and the Facebook at cystpod. I'm just not a Zucker fan. I'm sorry. Just that guy.
Tell us how much you hate Zuckerberg, but also tell us.
Please.
Tell us what you want to read next. I got a poll up on Instagram. I can repost it to our story. We've got 2 books, so you've got time.
Yes.
We haven't announced it yet. Should we read The Awakening by Kate Chopin, or should we read The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne? 2 ladies.
Both books.
2 very
I have not read.
Oh, really?
I've read.
Not
Come
Scarlet
on, this
Letter?
is. I'm the dumb guy that doesn't read these old books.
Huh?
Right?
I would think The Awakening maybe, but The Scarlet Letter I thought was literally a classic people have probably slept through.
Hence this book, this podcast. So
but it's
we're
a
getting there.
One. Anyway, tell us what you want to hear next.
Please, yes. So this has been Classics You Slept Through. Online learning works great too, people. So get your computers on, shake those mice. shake your mouse, make sure the teacher knows you're still awake in class.